taste of everything that makes the Thousand Islands unique. So gather around and get ready to explore one of the most beautiful places on Earth.
Between Indiana and Oscar Islands is like a gateway into the heart of the Admiralty Group, the cluster of islands where my grandparents built our family cottage. Right now, we're sailing down Wanderer's Channel. I think it got that name because it meanders through the islands on either side. You'll see plenty of cottages, boats, and people soaking up a little Thousand Islands lifestyle. The Admiralty Group is one of the densest groups of islands with lots of sheltered channels. So the water's calm and there's usually a cool breeze. People have been building summer cottages here since the Victorian age. Those old family places have remained growing over the years. Mine started out as a simple three-room cottage, just big enough for my grandparents. They added a bedroom for their kids. Then Dad added another for me and my brother. I put in a new boathouse and enlarged the kitchen. One generation at a time, that little cottage has turned into a spacious home. No matter what the date is, summer officially arrives when we leave cottage for the season. We bring everything we need and leave nothing behind. If we forget to buy something in Gananoque, we do without it. As long as we have food, bathing suits, and a stack of board games for those long summer evenings, we're set. The cottage has no air conditioning or heat, but who needs them? My grandparents made do with kerosene lamps and cooking over an open fire. It's a lot of work maintaining a cottage out here. There's no drinking water on the islands, so we have to haul it over to the mainland. We can't pollute the river, so sewage goes to the tank. Then someone has to... Fortunately, there's a service that comes around and does that for us. We call it the honey barge. Owning real estate here is still a privilege, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep the Thousand Islands clean and healthy. After all, they belong to the world. Look for a stylish A-frame cottage on the Stones Throw Island. It's so close to the river you can open a window and shine right in. Just past Stubbs Road, there's a walking line. Sometimes it looks deserted while others it's brimming with activity. It has a barbecue and everything here. We call that Rent Me Island because the owner rents it out to visitors. Who needs a cottage when you can just pitch a tent? The elegant summer place on the little island with the lovely footbridge is called La Vignette. Family members often wave at us or head up onto the bridge to do a little dance. It's become a bit of a tradition that started many years ago and continues whenever a tour boat passes. Another one of those traditions passed from generation to generation. La Vignette also has two flagpoles. One generally flies the red-and-white maple leaf flag of Canada, but the other flag changes constantly. If there's one up Today, do you recognize it? The family has a huge collection, and they love challenging us to identify them. Our cabinets have a guidebook with flags of the world, but even they get stumped sometimes. It's an old Thousand Islands tradition, like kids gesturing to the captain to achieve the ship's order. You might think the islanders represent touring scenic or killer, but they are see another name on charts. I'll try to pronounce it for you. Broadway Island. That's the best I can do. And probably why it's more commonly known as Leak. Parks Canada manages Leak Island, so visitors can go camping and hiking. Photograph birds and wildlife up close, and enjoy the view on the shore. Anyone can experience the beauty of the islands. There is, however, a small problem. You do need a kayak, sail, or some other vessel. Parks should be accessible to all Canadians, not just the ones who have a boat. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Leak Island had a tour boat pier? One that has minimal impact on the natural shoreline? Someday, I hope we can make it easier for more people to experience the healing power of nature in Thousand Islands National Park. brother and I grew up on Dad's water taxi. We delivered propane and equipment, picked up customers' mail and groceries, and ferried them to the islands when their boats were out of commission. We pull out of Gananoque every morning at 8:30. At noon, we'd head back, grab some hamburgers, and keep working until 5 o'clock. Sometimes we'd take tourists on our own personal tour of the islands. I got pretty good at answering questions. Almost everybody asked if there are really 1,000 islands in the Thousand Islands. Last I checked, the official count was 1,864. Canada and the US divided the islands equally in terms of landmass. We have more islands on the Canadian side of the river, but the US islands are bigger. A lot of visitors wondered if anyone stays on the islands over the winter. A few people have tried, but they usually give up. It's hard enough heating these old summer cottages. But what do you do when the river freezes? You can't sail back to shore, and the ice usually isn't safe to walk on. So you're stranded until spring. The islands are a summer place. A few people asked if I ever got bored looking at the river all day. That always surprised me. Who could get bored out here? The river's always changing. Fish are jumping, and ospreys are swooping down to catch them. I might see a muskrat drinking along the shoreline. If there's a storm brewing, I have to watch whether it's heading to the mainland or bearing down on the river. In late fall, I watch the leaves changing color and enjoy the crisp, clean air of deep blue sky. No, I wasn't born then. Half a century later, I'm still not tired of the river. Every time I look at it, there's something new to see. We're now sailing into a group of smaller islands called the Navy Fleet because most of them are named after naval vessels. We'll sail between two islands just ahead. When we get a little closer, you'll see a Parks Canada sign on the one to the right. That's Camelot Island. A few years ago, part of it went up in flames. It wasn't an accident. The Park Service scheduled a controlled burn on Camelot Island. That may strike you as odd. Aren't they supposed to preserve the forest, not burn it up? The explanation has to do with two plant species on Camelot Island. Evergreen trees called pitch pines and a flowering shrub called the deerberry. Both are rare in Canada. The Thousand Islands is one of the few places they grow wild. They have other things in common. Pitch pines and deerberry are easily crowded out by other plants, and they're both fire tolerant. Suppressing fires actually hurts them. These plants need occasional fires to clear space for them to grow. Today, pitch pine shoots and deerberry bushes are coming up everywhere on Camelot Island. Controlled burns are part of the mission of Parks Canada and UNESCO to keep the Thousand Islands in their natural state. So Camelot Island looks just the way it looked 500 years ago. Here's hoping it still looks the same 500 years from today. And I said, "How do you think?" Deer and other animals swim from one island to the next. If the river freezes in winter, they just walk across the ice. On our way back to Gananoque, we actually saw a deer paddling over to the mainland. So keep your eyes peeled. Every now and then, deer swim right past the touring boat. I've even heard of them swimming through the shipping channel on the St. Lawrence Seaway.